B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. We enter the month of Iyar. Iyar is Aleph, Yod, Resh, Rashi Tevot. Ani Hashem Rofecha. May this month be a source of all Yeshuot, especially for Refuah Shelema and Beriut Etana, for all the Cholei Amo Israel. And we should be, Be'ezrat Hashem, announced with only Besorot Tovot, Yeshuot, V'nechamot. Amen. It is an opportunity to start off the next Midda of Rabbi Israel Salanter's list, and the Midda of the month will be the Midda of Seder. Seder in Hebrew means order, organization. And I know that we may be not talking about this enough, and this is why today I would like to go to the basics. And before I get there, I want to share with you the first Rashi of this week's Parashat. We're going to read this Shabbat, Be'ezrat Hashem, Parashat Kedoshim. It's a small parasha, but such a big parasha with so many halachot, so many details, and they all are under the umbrella of the first pasuk that says, Kedoshim tihu. It's a commandment that we have as Jews to be holy. Ki kadosh ani Hashem Elohechem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us, the Jews, to be holy just like He is. And the obvious question is, we can't be like Hashem. There is a reason why He is God and we are not. We don't understand everything. We don't control everything. And maybe there is a reason for that. So maybe we should not be holy. So what is exactly the commandment of Kedoshim Tihu? So Rashi says something so important. Kedoshim Tihu hevu perushim min ha'arayot umin ha'avera. Shekol makom she'ata motze geder erva Ata motze kedusha. What does that mean? And she tells us, you want to know what kedoshim is? It's not about holiness. It's about separation. Perishut in Hebrew means to stay away from, to separate, to seclude from. From what? Min ha'arayot umin ha'avera. From forbidden relationships and the avera, the sin in general. Why? Because every time a person is proactive, he is in that dynamic of havdalah, of separation, ata motze kedusha, you find holiness. I find this Rashi fascinating. And I think that every year there is so much to learn about just this very short line of Rashi that is reflecting on so many concepts in Yahadut. And I want to ask you to think about kedusha in other places. There are times in our schedule that we perform actions that we call themselves Kedusha, holiness. And I think the first example that comes to mind is the Kiddush itself. The Kiddush on Friday night, when the father is surrounded by his family, and the first thing that he does before the meal is to lift up the kos of wine and to bless and thank Borei Olam for having the Shabbat. He's going to say Borei Peri HaGefen, and he's going to end up by saying Baruch Ata Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbat. In fact, we also say it beforehand in the Amidah, at night and during the day of Shabbat. We perform a Kiddush. What does that mean, we perform a Kiddush? What does that mean? We sanctify the Shabbat. The Shabbat is already sanctified. The Shabbat does not need us to sanctify it. So what does that mean? Well, the answer is, the reason for the Kiddush, the reason for this mitzvah, is simply to welcome the Shabbat. And welcoming the Shabbat means that we in our minds and in our actions will make a separation. We'll separate between the weekdays and the Shabbat. The way we dress, the way we talk, the way we eat, and in so many other activities that we will do on Shabbat or we will not do on Shabbat, because we want to create that separation. And every time we promote this dynamic, then that's exactly what we do. We are Mekadesh the Shabbat. We're not Mekadesh the Shabbat itself. We are Mekadesh ourselves. We sanctify ourselves by doing or by not doing those activities. Why? Because we separate. Because we organize. There is in our head and in our actions a time and a place for everything. And by the way, this is exactly what the Havdalah is for. The same way we accept and welcome the Shabbat through the Kiddush, we also perform by the end of Shabbat Just like the Kiddush, Havdalah, which by the way should also be recited and said at home, not just in the Bet HaKnesset. This has to also be a ceremony, just like we accepted Shabbat. So we escort the Shabbat through the Havdalah in a respectful fashion. We will also have a Melaveh Malka afterwards to escort the queen. But once again, the idea evolves around the concept of separation. And that's exactly what Rashi tells us in this week's Parashat. Kedusha, holiness, is found when we are able to separate. It's such an important concept, especially today in 2022. Holiness, Kedusha, closeness to Borei Olam, emulating Borei Olam is possible when we are able to create separations. And I know that those words can be very, very sensitive because we live in a world that does not accept separation. It is a world today that we want to break boundaries, that we don't want to hear the no, that we don't want to hear that this is something else, that we, men and women, are not the same, because we are not the same. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. We are equals, but we are not the same. And the Tum'ah will fight with all its strength to bring that, with false values, with values that we may think that they are good values, but they're wrong because they serve an agenda. If it's freedom, if it's love, if it's all kind of ideas that we can be weakened by, that we can feel, oh, that's a good argument. It's not. Because the agenda is to break those boundaries. And Borei Olam created the world with boundaries. This is what we call Seder. This is what we call organization. We all understand that if you come in your child's room and it's all upside down, clothes are everywhere, the bed is not made, you have paper candies, that's a mess. That's called a room without boundaries, where the clothes are not where they belong, the garbage is not where it belongs, the bed is not made the way it's supposed to be. And that's just a simple example to reflect on our lives. Is our life mesudar? Is our head mesudar? Do we have the right values? Can we make that separation? Because Borei Olam created the world with separations. You have the day and you have the night. You have the man and you have the woman. You have humans and you have animals. And they're not the same. Our job is to emulate those separations with shalom, with respect. And I think that this message is so important for today that we really need to remember and to resound those words. Kedoshim tiyu. Kedusha is about the ability to be mavdil, to separate. Not to separate, to divide, has shalom between people, but to separate, to have clarity, to understand who is what is who, and make the right choice, make the right decision, and do what's right in the right place and at the right time. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us with true Kedusha, to feel close to Him, and we should be Be'ezrat Hashem zocheh for Yeshuot v'nechamot. Amen. Ken Yehי Ratzon. Shabbat Shalom.